Now to Ahmed Keser, who joins me from Ankara. He's an associate professor of political science and international relations at Hasan Kalyoncu University. Great to have you on with us. This announcement really comes as a surprise. I'd like to hear your thoughts on why you think we're hearing this call now from the Kremlin for a ceasefire.
Thank you for having me, first of all. And we can, of course, have different interpretations according to different perspectives. First of all, it will be, of course, welcomed by all those Christian Orthodox also living in Ukraine, because they will have the chance to attend the Orthodox Christmas Eve at the church without having any threat or risk. So they may understood this a kind of show of goodwill from the Russian part. On the other hand, when we look at the administration side, of course, they will interpret this issue as a kind of propaganda, because the offer come from, of course, the head of the Orthodox Church, Kirill, but because of his previous interpretations on the strategies used by Russian party and legitimizing the Russian activities and attacks in the region, this has a negative influence on the Ukrainian administration part, and they interpret this according to these explanations. That's why as a propaganda. For Russian part, of course, they will use this one, and they will give an opportunity for all the public that in these conditions, they respect for the religious beliefs, and they respect for the safety of them to conduct their religious celebrations. So even through which perspective we are looking at, it might be a good step for further actions, because if the public welcomes it for future activities or negotiations, it might give the pay for the next open doors for the negotiations. If we can understand little changes at the positions of the parties. But till now, I don't see such an open door, because the Russian side doesn't change their position, and their offers regarding the territories is not acceptable for the Western countries, and they under their support for the Ukrainian part as well. So maybe it will not open the door immediately for peace talks, but still we can understand that there is an open door for negotiations, especially by the influence and efforts of the leader of Turkey. So this is good, at least. We will see the results. If the promises are kept during this 36 hours, it might create a positive environment in both sides, and both sides may try to understand other parties' interests better in this case. And by the mediation of Turkey, maybe, then maybe not in a not very near time, but we might have a further step for negotiations for peace talks, which will at least ease the life in those territories. But we see that Russian party still sees that Dnieper River as a border, and those territories captured and invaded by Russian side is not under the negotiation issues. So this is not acceptable for Ukraine. But of course, the negotiations will start from somewhere. So let's see the results. But I think it is a positive step.
Certainly encouraging for sure. But Professor, Ukraine had earlier calls for a truce a cynical trap. Are you concerned that Ukraine won't accept this ceasefire? Because, of course, in order for the ceasefire to hold, both sides have to accept it.
I think this is a very difficult decision, because if they do not accept the ceasefires and go on fighting at the Christmas Eve, most of their people also Christian Orthodox. So this is also a respect for the beliefs of their own people. I think this might be a negative impact on their own public as well. So even unwillingly, they have to accept. Maybe they will not officially accept, but they will not actively go into hot conflict at least during this 36 hours period, I think.
What do you think Turkey's role in mediating peace could be going forward if this ceasefire is in fact accepted by Ukraine and does hold?
We know that Turkey is insisting for peace talks and for a stable peace to be constructed in the region for a while. But because of the conditions that Russia already mentioned, it is not acceptable by Ukrainian side. But the telephone diplomacy is ongoing. And at the international relations, everything might change in a while, in some time. But we know that there is also Western countries and especially the United States of America's influence on the Ukrainian parts. And Ukrainian president already visited America, you know. So unless America doesn't want and support such a peace talk or acceptance of negotiations, I don't think that Ukraine is ready for starting such talks yet.
Okay. Associate Professor Ahmed Casser joining us from Ankara. Thank you.